Hello class, so welcome now to our video here where we're going to be looking at some common email errors that you might find. What none of you probably knew is that little email there, as much as I really did enjoy reading them through and getting to know a little bit about you, was also me already not judging you, but I was definitely looking to see where your skills already were lying. A lot of you guys were doing emails exactly the way that you're supposed to be doing emails, and sometimes there were some mistakes. So here I have compiled the most common email errors that I saw and the reasons that we should be doing them differently. If you see something that you've used pop up here in one of the examples, don't feel bad. I'm not trying to call you out. I'm not trying to be like, oh gosh, look at this person who didn't know how to write an email, because we haven't studied this yet, and I'm not sure how much you've studied it in other classes, to be honest. So this is just a learning experience for all of us to show you, hey, this is the right way to write an email. So now going forward, after you've seen this is how you should be writing emails to teachers or anyone really in a different professional background, whatever that might be. So the reason that we want to use an email here, or the reason that knowing how to write an email is so important, is that I'm sure what this pandemic has shown a lot of us is that email and virtual contact is becoming much more common. So this might be the only way that you really get to make an impression on a person, and really, to be honest, the way that first email is sent really does make a difference between you getting an internship or job you want compared to someone else that doesn't have as nice of an email. You might be a great person, but if your email is riddled with spelling errors or grammar mistakes, or just kind of misses some of these basic etiquette ideas, you might be less likely to get a job. So let's dive in and see what you guys did. So, number one, make sure that you're addressing your email to the right person. I got a couple of these. Dear Mrs. Gannier. I'm not Mrs. Gannier. I'm her sub, but that doesn't mean that I'm taking the place literally as her. I'm Miss Breda. Luckily, most of you sent your emails, at least I'm hoping, to the right place, not to Mrs. Gannier's email. Side note, if you did, forward it to me, because I will not have seen it, will not get it. But basically the idea here is that nothing is going to turn someone off in a professional email like using the wrong email address. So this is especially important if you're emailing about a job or an internship, because chances are, if it's not addressed to you, why would someone take the time to look at it? And you might never get the email sent to the person that you're meant to have it go to. Always, even if it takes a little bit more research, find the correct name. This might also be difficult because if you should refer to people by their title. So this means, like, if they have a PhD and they're a doctor someone, don't just write Mr. or Mrs. You should be calling them Dr. Blank if they have a PhD, or see what title they do have if it might be something else. So, like I said, it might take a little bit extra time, might take that research, but that's kind of the point, is that especially if you're doing, like, an email for an internship or for a job opening, you want to show that you have taken that extra time and that you do care about getting this job. So some of these are going to be kind of common sense, but I'm still going to put them out there just because I saw them. It's a lot of the things that you'd basically be expected to do in any other English grammar situation. So here is capitalization. We want to be using proper capitalization. So that means that we are capitalizing proper nouns. These are titles of books, movies, TV shows, and names, and beginning of sentences. So we notice here that Aladdin and Mary Poppins are both in under non-capitalized, and you would want to have those capitalized because those are proper names of an item. We also have I here. You are a proper noun, so you capitalize that. Similar to here, Lucifer is not capitalized, but some other things were, so maybe that one was just a slip of the fingers, but that's kind of another point, is you probably want to proofread to just make sure that everything is capitalized that should be capitalized. Punctuation. Please use proper punctuation in grammar. So this is basically contractions have an apostrophe. So these are words like I'm, he's, don't, doesn't, can't, and so on. Sometimes some teachers might say that you should not use contractions. I think in an email it is fine to do, but if you are going to do that, make sure that you are using contractions properly. In the same way, make sure you're putting commas where there should be commas. Don't be using semicolons unless you're absolutely sure you know how to use them, because it's very easy to see who's just trying to look academic but not actually know what they're doing with semicolons. Make sure that your periods are where periods should be. Try not to have run-on sentences. So write your email like you're writing a paper. Please use complete sentences. Sometimes it can be difficult to understand what you mean if you're not using a fully punctuated sentence. So we have book club, book, animal farm. Yes, I know what this person meant to say, but it sounds really clunky. It sounds really hard to understand. It's difficult. Like to play baseball, football, fish, and hunt, and like you can say yes. So you probably can figure out what they're trying to say, but you want the person that's reading your email to not be taking the time to be like, okay, let's try to figure out what this person meant or guess, but to be spending time on the actual content instead of the way that the content is formatted. Be sure to always sign off with your emails. So there should be a two-part process in signing off. So these two here, what you see is that these are just two people where they sent the email and had no closing, no nothing. You always want to give a closure, such as saying, sincerely, thank you for your time. Like that's maybe if you are asking them for a favor. I look forward to hearing from you. That one opens up a line of communication back with them. And then you give your comma after that, and then you give your name. So you'll notice most of my emails, I will say Miss Breda, ending mine. For you guys, I would say use your first and last name. It's just more professional to do so. If you get to be sort of, like casual, or things become a little bit less professional, maybe you could start using just your first name, but at this point, all of you guys should probably be signing off with both your first and your last name. Email subjects. So you always want to use subjects in your emails. This is the one that I saw happening most recurringly, which is that people were not using or not putting any subjects in there at all, as seen by just the 3 here, but there is many more than that. Use a title that is informative. The purpose of an email title is so that someone scanning through their emails can quickly understand exactly what an email is about. You want your reader to know what it is so that no time needs to be wasted, or so that if you're a teacher like me that gets upwards of 100 emails a day, I know what ones are really important to refer or to read right away. Email is used to make communication expedited, so make sure that your introduction is giving that. For school-related emails, it's going to be really helpful to put your subject and hour as the subject header along as an explanation, such as, and I think this kind of got cut off. Here we go. So let me just this one. So this says thesis question English 11 1A. So with that, I would know, okay, it's a thesis question. I would know that, like, maybe this isn't something that I need to refer to or get right away. It's not like, SOS, a really big deal. I know that it's English 11 and I know what class it's from. So I can definitely have a better idea going into the email of what it might look like or what the question might be. So please, when you are emailing me, try to give me some sort of header, something like this. Anything more than no subject would be acceptable. So never send an email with just an image or an attachment. You should always preface what it's supposed to be in the email in case something doesn't load. It looks unprofessional not to include anything, even if the image does load, but as we know with computers, a lot of issues can happen and it might be different from place to place. It does not have to be a lot. So this is just a person that sent me literally just their picture of their sorting that they did, and that is perfectly fine, but what they might say is, hello, attached is an image of my Hogwarts test result. You put the image in, and then you say, thank you, your name at the bottom there. So you have your opener, you have your introduction, you have your closer part 1, then you have your name, and you have your image all in there. So that just gives me, so even if the screen doesn't load, I can go, oh, okay, that's what it was supposed to be. Maybe you can even say, as you can see, I am a Ravenclaw. So even if it doesn't load, I know what it was supposed to be instead of just being like, cool, I think there's an image there. That'd be awesome if I could see it. But So that's something to keep in mind. So now the introductory greeting. Just like if you were writing a letter, or if you were answering a phone call, you want to include a greeting or an opener in your email, preferably with the name of the person you're trying to reach, but sometimes a simple hello is just as fine. So these are examples here too of people just straight up went straight into their email. So we have this person going, my name is, and then I took it out because I'm not trying to directly call anyone out. This person had a hi, but whenever you have your introduction, you should tab and have it on a different line than the rest of your information. The my should be capitalized, there should be a comma after the hi, so don't just jump right into the email. Even though this is a much shorter and faster communication than a letter, it still follows those standards. So some openers could be dear blank, hello, good morning, good afternoon, or a really common one I've been seeing, I hope this finds you in good health, but there are hundreds of other openers out there you could possibly use to open up your email. So here's one which I also kind of see quite often, which is that using chat speak in an email. Texting is texting, and writing an email, especially a professional one, is not. Maybe if you're sending a email to a friend or to your mom, it doesn't matter as much, but when you're emailing me, your teacher, or any other your teachers, you definitely should not be using chat speak. Even if you ignore all the other rules, this one especially looks unprofessional. There is not a circumstance in the world where you would send a professional email and it would be okay to be using these shorthands like this. You want to think of writing an email almost on the same level as writing a research paper. So if you ever worry that it's too casual, go more professional than anything else. That will be the safest here. So you don't want to just use you. By the way, like, you want to write all of those things out, and a lot of the times all of these shorthands that we're using anyway are unprofessional and you might not want to use them at all. And then lastly, make sure that you're getting the right title. This one kind of go hands in hand with having a good subject, but make sure that the subject that you're actually talking about is what it's supposed to be. I got one where it just said cover letter. I'm pretty sure it's not a cover letter that they were trying to send me. Maybe it was left over from a last email, maybe they just got confused for a second, but point is, if I wasn't specifically screening and looking for all these introduction emails, I might assume that this was meant entirely for someone else and never read it, or read it far too late, or not give someone credit. So just having an email opener or email subject line that actually conveys what you want your reader to know is super, super important. So in a second, you're going to go and watch this video. It's linked into your little daily agenda. It's a little bit more, it's made for college settings, but at this point, high schoolers are using email just as often as college kids are, so I still think it's definitely applicable, and it kind of goes over some of the things that we've already gone over. So you have a couple assignments for today. Number one is a reflection email. This goes hand in hand with what we just talked about. So now, I have gone through and told you what I'm looking for and expecting in your emails, at least most of the time you're emailing me. If we start, we're probably not going to get to the point because I'm only going to be here for 2 weeks where we get super casual, but so I would assume that you guys should be using the standard for most of the time. So what you're going to do is go and find that introduction email that you had sent me. Go through and see if you have to make any corrections. Make all corrections. Don't just pick a couple, but make any corrections that you have to make that email look like the email that it's supposed to be. Like the golden standard of email, like perfect everything from what we just went through. Retype it in a Word document to which you will be submitting on Canvas, along with a copy-paste of what the original email was, or a screenshot. Then you are going to pick 2 mistakes that you made and write about why they were unprofessional and what you changed it to make it more professional. If you think that your email was perfect or without, pick out 2 examples where you used really good academic language choice or really good email etiquette and make comments on those. You are going to turn this into Canvas and it is due tomorrow.